Punishment isn't teaching your child anything. It's actually making their behaviors worse. In this video, I'm going to explain why traditional discipline fails and what actually changes your child's behavior. I'm Lisa, a child behavior expert and a parent coach. I have over a decade of experience as a pediatric occupational therapist. My goal on my channel is to empower parents like yourself with science-backed strategies that will help you feel confident in supporting your child's development. With the right knowledge and tools, you can raise a resilient and confident child who thrives at home, school, and in life. So your child keeps breaking the rules. They're on their iPads, you tell them to get off their iPads, you take it away, they somehow find it, they hide themselves under the blanket, and lo and behold, you find them on their iPad again. You use punishments, you use threats, you ground them, you threaten that they will not have the iPad for the next week if they do not put it away. Now they just get better at hiding and sneaking it. No matter how many times you put a punishment or a threat on them, they just find another way. And whenever you confront them, their behaviors just get worse and worse. No matter how hard you push, you just get pushed back even harder from them. Now, the cycle that you're in with this punishment-based discipline is just getting you stuck in a power struggle. And you're feeling exhausted every day because you're getting into these endless arguments with your child. You're yelling at them, they yell back, you take it away, they find their way back, and it just happens over and over and over again. And I've worked with so many parents who are trapped in the cycle and they're completely exhausted. And it's really tearing these families apart because when you're trapped in a power struggle with your child and it happens on a continuous basis, the home environment becomes sour. There's so much stress and tension and everyone is always fighting or in an argument. But I know how confusing this is because we were all told that punishments were the way to get control back. And where does this punishment-based discipline even come from? And this comes from the belief that fear and consequences will get your child to obey or comply. And this type of parenting approach stems from a time where discipline meant control, not connection. Many of us grew up with this type of parenting, where if we misbehaved, if we didn't follow the rules, we were going to have consequences, whether it was spanking or being grounded, being put in timeouts, we'd lose privileges. This was something that felt very normal to us, and we feel like this is something that we should be doing in our own parenting. But it's backfiring on us and we don't know why. But here's what the research in modern child development tells us about punishment discipline. Punishments don't teach better behavior. What they actually instill is fear, avoidance, and sneaking around. When kids are punished, they don't actually learn why their actions were wrong. What they actually learn is that they cannot get caught, they cannot make mistakes, and that their parents are actually against them, not working with them. And these are all of the wrong concepts that we want to teach our children. We do not want our kids to be afraid of us because when they face challenges in the real world, when things go wrong, we want them to turn to us. We want them to feel like they can actually trust us and that we are their safe space for them. Now, if you're raising a strong-willed child, punishments don't just fail, they actually backfire. I have seen this time and time again with families who are raising strong-willed kids. So these are kids who have very strong opinions. They know exactly what they want. When you use punishment as a way for control, it backfires because these kids need that control. When they feel that their autonomy is taken away from them, it actually adds fuel to their fire and it makes them push back on you even more. And what happens is when you have a strong-willed child and you're using punishments and threats as your parenting disciplinary method, you play fire with fire. There's so much pressure. Both of you will be butting heads and there will be no movement. There will be no progress forward. This only leads to more defiance, lying, and power struggles and more stress on you as the parent. Now, there is a better way to discipline your children. The research is clear out there. But before we get into those solutions, if you haven't already, please remember to like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on episodes like this. So the better way of disciplining your child actually helps to strengthen your bonds. It reduces the friction that you're feeling between your child. Instead of punishing, it focuses on teaching, guiding, and also building emotional regulation skills. This is what helps to teach your child self-control, and accountability for their actions. Number one is to shift from control to connection. So instead of thinking, how can I get my child to stop this bad behavior? You're immediately going to go into punishment threat mode. Instead, you need to think about, what does my child need in this moment that's causing this behavior in the first place? So let's go back to the screen time example. If it's time for your child to put that iPad away, you've already told them, and they're throwing a big tantrum because of it. Now, instead of trying to stop the tantrum because you think that they shouldn't be acting this way, I need to get control of the situation, I'm going to use punishments, threats, telling them that if they don't put it away, they're not going to have the iPad for the rest of the day. This is only going to amplify. It's only going to create an emotional response from them, causing even more of a tantrum. And that's going to make them spiral out of control. We need to come from a different angle. When we can see why our child is struggling in the first place, because when it's time to remove the iPad, this is what we call a transition. They're doing something that is very preferred. They all want to watch that video, play that game. Now they got to put away something that they enjoy to do something that is less preferred. It's likely that you're transferring them to the dinner table, you're trying to get them to do their homework, you're trying to get them to do something else like play a puzzle, which might be less stimulating for them and less enjoyable than the iPad. So when they're going from something more preferred to less preferred, it's a tough transition for them. And so when we can see it from that perspective, we can then say, how can we make this transition easier on them? So when we can recognize that this is actually really hard on them, what they're actually feeling in this moment is disappointment. They're finding it really hard to let go of something that they want. So when we can connect with them, acknowledge those feelings, say something like, I know this is really hard for you. I know how much you love watching this show, but we've had enough time and we're going to go do this other activity together. Giving them that validation that their feelings are valid, that they are seen, that we're not just trying to ignore what it is that they're feeling inside, that can help them to feel more connected to you rather than rushing in with a more dominating type of authority where you're yelling, where you're using a really harsh tone of voice to try to scare them. This approach helps them to feel more connected to you and will make them want to listen more because they actually trust you. They trust that this is the right thing that they should be doing. Number two is to teach accountability, not fear. So when we have consequences, which we of course all need to have consequences, it's part of life. Those consequences are there to teach our children. They're not there to shame them or guilt them. Because when they function from a place of guilt and shame, that's where lying and sneaking are closely behind. Instead, what we need to do is come from a place of understanding. We need to teach our children the reasons why there are consequences. What is the why behind these rules? Because when we can teach them that, they can start to understand it from their own perspective and start to take more personal accountability for themselves. That is a lifelong skill that all children need to learn to be able to handle life when they go out into the real world. Because this is the biggest argument I hear all the time. If we don't crack down on our kids, how are they going to react in the real world? How are they going to function? The real world is not going to just give in to all of their requests. They need to listen to who's boss. But that's so far from the truth. Our kids are still young children with developing brains who need to be taught how to use their thinking brains, how to use logic and reasoning. When we discipline from a place of guilt and shame and fear, we're not actually teaching them to think and to rationalize why we are doing what we're doing. So when it comes to screen times, we're teaching them that we have an allotted time. You're given 30 minutes a day, and when those 30 minutes are done, we have to put that iPad away and do something else. The consequence, right, there is going to be the consequence, will be that if you cannot put it away after those 30 minutes, I will come in and I will take it and put it away. And I'll put it somewhere where you will not have access to it. Number three is to work with their need for autonomy, especially for our strong-willed kids. We want to allow our kids to feel like they have some level of control. Now, this doesn't mean that we're giving full reins to our kids to have what it is that they want. But when we set the boundaries, when we set the parameters for something, in that parameter, we still want to give them a sense of control. This is going to help them to feel like we are not taking over, we're not taking away their autonomy, and that they still have choice. So if the argument with your child is always around screen time, they're always asking for it, they're constantly negotiating with you, asking for longer screen time use, you're setting the firm boundary. You have 30 minutes a day, but I'll let you have a choice. Do you want to use that 30 minutes right before homework time, or would you like to do it right after dinner? When you give them some choice, it gives them a feeling like they still have some say, they still have some weigh in the decision making, and that can help ease this process and help them to cooperate with your boundaries. Number 4 is use logical consequences. So when your child does something out of line, they behave inappropriately, that consequence has to match what just happened. It can't be something illogical, something so arbitrary that it doesn't actually make sense, that they're not going to learn any lessons from this, right? When we use consequences, it's there to teach them, right? When we use discipline, it's there to teach them. So remember, whenever we put in a consequence, that thing has to have an overarching message to teach what is the right behavior from your child that you're expecting. So if your child decides that they want to sneak their iPad late at night under the covers, and you've already told them that there's no screen time past 7 p.m. and they keep doing this. Now, the natural consequence, a lot of us think that it's to ground them, to not give them any access to screens for a week, and that's going to teach them not to sneak. We need to remember that our kids do not have the ability to foresee very far down the line, to make connections in a lesson that you're trying to teach them. We need to make things more concrete for them, more in the immediate, the present moment, to help them learn that lesson. So if they're sneaking, they're taking their iPads in the middle of the night, the consequence isn't to put a week ban on screens, hoping that that's going to stop them from sneaking in the future. You have to set the firm boundary and get them to give you that iPad, and you have to put it away somewhere where they cannot access it. That's actually going to teach them that when it's 7 p.m., the rule is you give me that iPad and I will hold it till the next day, and you will not have access to it. This helps to prevent any temptations from trying to sneak around, and it tells them that these are the firm rules in our house. Whether you like it or not, Mom and Dad, we're holding firm to our boundaries. We are not budging as much as you want to complain about it. Number 5 is the most important way we need to approach parenting, which is to build emotional regulation skills. When we can teach our children emotional regulation skills, we let them in on a skill set that helps them to manage those big emotions that are causing the bad behaviors in the first place. When our kids are lashing out, they're throwing a tantrum, they're just getting so upset. And those are the times where we feel like we need to put a punishment down on them because they're not listening and they're just acting wild. Those are the moments that are actually times where they're feeling dysregulated. They don't actually have the skills to control their emotions, which is why they're acting out. So when you can build emotional regulation by helping them to become more aware of those feelings that are inside, feelings of disappointment, feelings of frustration and anger, those are what's fueling the behaviors that you're seeing. When they learn what are some coping tools to help them manage that, that's actually going to help them down-regulate, right? Calm down their nervous system that's currently firing up and reacting and behaving in ways that you feel need punishment. But instead, if we can get to the bottom of this, get behind the behavior and actually teach the skill that they're lacking, which is emotional regulation, you actually prevent the behaviors from happening in the first place. So to build these emotional regulation skills, you have to understand the foundations to what actually makes emotional regulation work. And that's where my course comes in. From chaos to calm, foundations to emotional regulation. I break down the 5 foundational pillars of emotional regulation. I help you to understand why your child is even behaving this way in the first place, that's warranting these punishments, and how to actually go about this in a more productive and efficient way. When you target the areas of why your child's dysregulated and you actually help them build skill, you actually fulfill needs that are being unmet that's causing the behavior. This is how you get behind the behavior. You get to the root foundation of the problem. You help them to build emotional regulation skills. And this is what's ultimately going to reduce all the meltdowns, tantrum, bad behavior, misbehavior, whatever you want to call it, that's causing you so much stress in your home. If you're seeing these problems today, you need to take action because they only accumulate over time. This course is going to help you to get unstuck in this punishment discipline cycle you're in, the power struggle you're in. It's going to give you those tools and strategies that you've been looking for to help you improve your child's behavior. It's going to take you step by step on what you need to do to start making changes in your home today. If you're ready to get started today, click the link in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video informative. Please again, remember to like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on episodes like this. And also share this episode with another friend or family member who is struggling with disciplining their child. And thank you so much. I'll see you guys in the next one.